In this video, we are exposing the 4 absolute worst backhoe loaders that industry professionals, mechanics, and frustrated owners warn against buying. This isn't just about minor quirks or a stiff lever. We are talking about fundamental flaws in design, engineering, and reliability that can bring a good business to its knees. These are the machines that turn profits into problems and drain your bank account faster than a busted hydraulic mainline. You will definitely want to stick around for our #1 pick. It was a machine sold with a price tag so tempting it lured in buyers from all across the country, only to become one of the most infamous cautionary tales in heavy equipment history. This isn't just a list, it's a guide to protect your investment, your time, your money, and your sanity. Let's get started. Number 4. The Terex TX760B and 860B. Coming in at number 4 is the Terex TX760B and its bigger brother, the 860B. When these machines first hit the market, they turned some heads. They were marketed as the rugged, cost-effective alternative to the big names like Case and Caterpillar. On paper, they had the specs. They had the breakout force, they had the reach, and most importantly, they had a price point that made small contractors feel like they were getting away with robbery. But as many owners found out the hard way, the only person getting robbed was the one holding the title. The core problem with the Terex backhoes from this era is that they are essentially orphan machines. Terex eventually sold their backhoe line to Mechalak, and in the transition, the North American support network didn't just crumble, it practically evaporated. Mechanics report that sourcing simple parts turns into a global scavenger hunt. We aren't talking about major components, we are talking about simple solenoids, specific hydraulic fittings, or cab glass. You aren't just an operator with these machines, you become a private investigator trying to track down components from overseas while your machine sits in the yard growing weeds. And it will sit, because the reliability issues are legendary. The front axles, often sourced from Carraro, are notorious for seal failures. Once those seals go, water gets in, oil gets out, and the planetary gears grind themselves into expensive metal glitter. But the real nightmare is the electrical system. The wiring harnesses in these machines were routed with the care of a plate of spaghetti. Owners report constant chafing, shorts, and the dreaded Christmas tree effect on the dashboard, where lights flash, alarms sound, and the machine refuses to move because a 50-cent wire has rubbed through against the frame. It is a machine that holds your business hostage. You buy it cheap, but you pay for it in downtime, frustration, and the sheer impossibility of finding parts when you need them most. Number 3. The New Holland B95, early 2000s era. Number 3 takes us to a major brand that dropped the ball significantly, the early 2000s New Holland B95. Now, let's be clear. New Holland makes some incredible agricultural equipment, and their skid steers are legendary. But the B95 backhoe from this specific era suffers from a fatal flaw that strikes right at the heart of the machine's mobility: the PowerShuttle transmission. The marketing promise was incredible: smooth, clutchless shifting that would increase cycle times and reduce operator fatigue. It was supposed to be the future. The reality, a transmission control system that was so sensitive and prone to failure, it became a running joke in repair shops across the country. The issue stems from the forward and reverse control solenoids and the electronic control module that governs them. Owners report a terrifyingly common scenario. You push into a pile to load the front bucket, the transmission gets hot, and suddenly, nothing. The machine refuses to reverse. You are stuck, bucket buried in a dirt pile, blocking the job site, with a transmission that has decided to quit for the day. But it gets worse. The fix is rarely simple. It's often not just a solenoid replacement. The internal clutch packs were known to wear prematurely if the modulation valves weren't calibrated perfectly, a calibration that drifts over time. But the real kick in the teeth is the electrical routing to the transmission. The wiring harness passes through areas of high heat and vibration near the articulation point of the machine. Over time, the insulation cracks, moisture gets in, and the machine starts throwing error codes that require expensive proprietary software to diagnose. A mechanic with 20 years of experience warned that if you are looking at a used B95, you need to drive it for an hour until it's scorching hot, then try to shift. If there is even a split-second hesitation, run away. That hesitation is the sound of an $8,000 transmission rebuild bill coming your way. For a production machine, unreliability in the drivetrain is the ultimate sin, and the B95 commits it repeatedly. Number 2. The JCB 3CX, the Lucas era and early servo models. At number 2, we have an icon, the JCB 3CX. Now, before the loyalists get angry, we have to acknowledge that JCB invented the backhoe loader. They are the world leader for a reason. But even kings have a dark history. Specifically, we're talking about the era of machines where JCB decided to replace simple, reliable mechanical levers with complex, first-generation electronic servo controls. This is often referred to by cynical mechanics as the Lucas Electronics era, or simply the period of over-engineering. The problem here is the unnecessary complexity of the control systems. In these specific models, the connection between your hand and the hydraulic valve isn't a steel rod, it's a digital signal. And that signal travels through switches, relays, and computers that simply do not like moisture. And what do backhoes work in? Mud, rain, snow. Owners report the dead stick phenomenon. You're trenching away, making money, and suddenly the backhoe boom freezes. No warning, no noise, just a dead joystick. You wiggle the safety bar, you restart the machine, you pray to the gods of voltage, and nothing happens. Diagnosing this is a nightmare. Is it the seat safety switch, the joystick potentiometer, the ECU, or a single corroded ground wire buried deep in the frame? You can spend days chasing ghosts in the machine. Furthermore, the parts pricing for JCB's proprietary electronic components is eye-watering. A replacement ECU or a set of electronic joysticks can cost more than the value of a decent used car. One frustrated owner shared that he spent more time chasing ghosts in the wiring harness than he did digging ditches. He loved the power, he loved the speed, but he hated the morning dread of wondering if the machine would actually wake up that day. It is the Ferrari of backhoes when it works, but a very expensive paperweight when the electrons stop flowing. Number 1. The no-name gray market import. And here it is, the number 1 absolute worst backhoe loader you can possibly buy. This isn't a single model, it is a category of deception that is flooding online auctions and shady dealerships right now. We are talking about the no-name gray market import. You've seen them. They pop up on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and sketchy websites. They have names you've never heard of, like Wolf, Rhino, or just generic alphanumeric codes. They are often painted caterpillar yellow to trick your eye. The pitch is irresistible. Why buy a used high-hour cat or deer when you can get a brand new machine for $20,000? Here is why. These machines are the definition of a disposable industrial product. The metallurgy is notoriously poor. We aren't talking about hardened steel, we're talking about pot metal. Booms crack under normal loads, pins shear off within the first 50 hours of operation. The hydraulic hoses are often made of inferior rubber that rots in the sun and bursts under pressure, spraying hot fluid everywhere. But the real nightmare begins when, not if, it breaks. There is zero parts support, none. You go to a Napa or a heavy equipment dealer and they will laugh you out of the shop. The fittings are often non-standard sizes that don't match SAE or metric standards perfectly. The engines are knockoff clones of older designs, but with parts that aren't interchangeable. You are buying a machine that has no manual, no wiring diagram, no dealer network, and absolutely zero resale value. When you try to sell it, you will find that nobody wants to inherit your headache. And it gets dangerous. Many of these machines do not meet US or European safety standards. The rollover protection structures are often just uncertified square tubing. If you roll that machine, it crumples. The braking systems are rudimentary at best. One buyer posted a story that went viral for all the wrong reasons. He bought an import to clear his land. Day 1, The bucket curled and stayed there. Day 2, the starter fell off the block because the bolts stripped out of the casting. Now it sits in the weeds. He can't even scrap it for what he paid for shipping. These machines prove the oldest rule in the book. The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten. They are financial traps, uninsurable liabilities, and, without a doubt, the #1 worst backhoe lighters you can buy.